I had the opportunity to spend some time with a home and auto lot company. The owner has built a good business by bringing together a strong rep presence, a number of mobile technicians, and a team of sales agents who answer the calls and sell the service. The owner gets his customers from targeted Google ads that are linked to an array of websites which promote the services his company provides. Once customers see the ad, they have to click on it, then they review the website, then find the telephone number, and finally dial the number. After all of this, you would think that the agents would be ready to sell the service to these valuable customers. Not so much. The company's owner had a very valid question. Considering the money I'm spending promoting my business, am I getting the most value from the team who handles the customers? That was the question that needed answering. So to find out the answer, we did 3 specific things. We asked for accurate data and reports related to sales. We took time to find out who was on the team and some facts about each of the sales agents. And we listened to a lot of calls. Here's why each one of those points is important. Reporting data is critical to sales. The data should tell you what customers are calling for, who on the team is selling and who's not, what is the team selling most often, when are they selling, day of week, time of day, who is buying, male, female, young, old, ethnicity, caller relationship, such as a secretary calling on behalf of the boss, and why customers don't buy. And for most businesses, it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. As for the reporting data, unfortunately, there was not much. The owner knew how his sales were going and how this month compared to last month or even last year. That is good, but it doesn't answer the owner's question of getting the most value from his team. Nor could we help drive better performance if we couldn't tell how the team was performing. This was a problem that we had to solve for the company, and it was one that we could solve for very little cost. The easy fix was to use Google Forms to create a call tracking application that was easy to use, simple to create, and inexpensive to operate. Then we moved on to the agent interviews. Now, asking sensitive questions can be tough on employees, but we really needed to get the facts in order to better understand what was really going on once the customer decided to make that call. This is what we found out. In any sales team, you're going to have a range of tenure within your employees. It's common to think that a higher tenure, more time with the company, you'll get more experience, you get more training, and you'll perform better. What we found out was most of the agents had 1 to 3 months, and only one agent had 3 years of experience. So tenure within this group was relatively small. So if you don't have a lot of tenure, you must come into the organization with hopefully some sales experience. Unfortunately, here we found out that most of the agents came in with customer service experience and very little indirect sales. So if you're young tenure and you have no sales experience, hopefully you're getting training or coaching on sales. Again, we were disappointed. Many of them said, when I started, I got training, but they haven't had any face-to-face coaching or training since then. Sometimes they get conversations in group settings. They'll learn a little thing or two from that, but not much else. So with sales, you want to have targets. Targets help drive performance. Unfortunately, here, none of the agents were sure they had a specific target because they weren't getting coached or trained. And then we asked, what's most challenging of the company, the environment? Sometimes it's difficult in a sales organization because culture is unique or the product has specific issues. What we wanted to find out was anything outside of their capability hampering their sales. And what we found out is that they get very little feedback from management. And then they also get challenged by customers who are very angry and very little training on how to deal with those types of customers. Then we asked, has anyone ever shared your sales performance with you? How they did last month or the last quarter or how they're doing in the last week? Unfortunately, no information for the agents here. And then the final question was, how are you doing compared to your peers? Like, are you a top salesperson or are you the middle? They had no idea. But funny enough, they wanted to find out. They wanted to know because they were slightly competitive. So it might have been good to share that with them. Then we moved on to call listening. Listening to either recorded or live calls is simply the best way to truly understand the sales environment. Inbound sales calls have many different aspects to them, and it takes some listening time to truly understand what's going on in these calls and why customers buy and why they don't. We were excited to find out what we would hear. We knew it would give us incredible insights in how the company was running the operation. After a few days, yes, days, of listening to many random calls, we could validate that each agent greeted their customer slightly differently, that every customer was treated with some degree of indifference. And being apathetic to the customer's situation seemed to be purely a voluntary gesture. Agents exhibited little sales ability and limited product knowledge. Objection handling was either inconsistent or non-existent. Asking for the sale on every call didn't happen. Some customers wanted an exact price before they booked the service. Although that was not possible without seeing the exact situation, customers often never received a good explanation as to why they could not get an exact price over the phone. Agents were too quick to respond to customers' comments and failed to understand what they were really asking or telling. Listening to calls helped us determine what was said, how the service was positioned, and how the agent listened to or engaged the customer to get the results that they did, be it a sale or no sale. Here's a summary of the top findings we presented to the company's owner. Agents can't sell if they're not taught how. The lack of good solid reporting data leads to inaction. Without meaningful data, it is hard to take appropriate steps. If there are no company or team or individual goals, performance will be less than expected. Often the agent's opening greeting were confusing the customers. The agents weren't disrespectful to the customer, but neither were they very professional. Actually, they were mostly apathetic. They really didn't care if the customer bought the service or not. No one had used examples from past sales successes or failures to help improve the team's sales. The agents weren't experienced enough to negotiate with customers who had specific needs or a set price in mind. Many of the calls the agents received were not sales opportunities. In fact, they were follow-ups on service, B2B calls, and they accounted for a higher percentage of calls than anyone realized. And finally, the agent's base compensation was close to minimum wage, and agents were not motivated to better their performance due to a lack of incentives. After reviewing the data, completing the agent interviews, and all of the required call listening, we decided to implement 9 different action steps to improve the sales. And here they are. Number 1, we use Google Forms to create a very functional and robust sales tracking and reporting system. We had all the agents fill out the call tracking form on every call. The data then is automatically captured in a spreadsheet, and with a couple of filters applied to the spreadsheet, we were able to produce reports that answered all of our key sales reporting questions. Number 2, we created and shared various recorded call segments when we heard particularly good empathy statements or wonderful objection handling. These live recording sound bites served as excellent reminders of what works in particular situations. This is very powerful for future calls. Number 3, we standardized the agent's opening greeting. Gone was, "Hey, how can I help you?" and "Hey, thanks for calling the door and lock." The new greeting conveyed to the customer the company's name, the agent's name, and the fact that the agent was professional, friendly, and ready to assist. Number 4, we had agents acknowledge when customers were in a difficult situation. Being locked out of your car on a cold and rainy day beside a major road warrants some empathy, so we started to provide that. We also started to ask customers if we could call anyone for them in case they needed to contact a family member or a workplace. It was a simple gesture that added to the empathy. The offer to call happened regardless if you bought the service or not. Number 5, we refreshed the agent's knowledge on the service the company provided. We educated the agents on industry terms, lock functionality, and related components so they were smarter when dealing with knowledgeable customers. Number 6, we taught agents how to handle the pricing question. If you can't tell your customer how much it's going to cost to replace a specific lock, it helps if you tell them there's no obligation to have the technician come and look at the work. The data showed that a good percentage of undecided customers bought the service when the technician showed up, explained the work effort, and provided a written quote. Number 7, we developed scorecards so the agents could see how they performed against their peers. This data helped us congratulate one sales rep who converted 46% of her calls into sales, while at the same time giving extra assistance and training to another representative who only converted 20% of their calls. The call tracking data now tells the company what target is achievable. We know now it's 46% conversion rate. Number 8, we suggested the company think about an incentive plan to drive higher conversion rates. Remember, they were spending a lot of money on Google Ads to get customers to call. Why not use some of those dollars to drive better conversion rates? And finally, and most importantly, number 9, we strongly suggested regular coaching sessions for the agents. The easy road is to blame agents for not selling. It must be their fault. Well, most of the time it's not. In this case, the agents weren't properly trained. They were not coached on a regular basis, so you can't expect great performance if you don't invest in your people. All employees need care and nurturing. Small investments in training and coaching pays off in higher sales and higher customer satisfaction. So the results, was every call successful after that? Heck no. But as agents got into the habit of applying their new skills and knowledge, the results improved. In fact, sales increased by 20% the very next month. And the company is now capable of understanding what changed, who changed, and why. Thanks for watching. For a copy of the slide presentation or the text of this video, please email me at clive@careforcustomers.com.